let's have a look ahead to the weekend. We've gone for a bit of a different flavour for our game of the weekend this week. We've gone with a clash on Friday night between Derby and Portsmouth. Derby are the 20 to 21 favourites for this one with SBK. A Portsmouth win is 17-5. The draw is 23-10. But the big question is, Justin, that everyone is asking, what Derby is it?
Oh, it's the Luke Varney Derby.
It's not the Luke Varney Derby, but I almost wish I went with that one instead, actually. No, it's the Marcus Harness Derby, of course. Seriously did consider the Darryl Powell Derby, but Marcus Harness is... Yeah, it was a while ago. Marcus Harness, more relevant to the present day. But yes, a derby involving Derby, which is good because they're called Derby, as a wise man once said last weekend. Anyway, we usually get sucked into covering games between promotion contenders or playoff chasers when it comes to our game of the weekend, Justin. So I thought, why not mix it up and do one covering two newly promoted sides who will probably both be happy to just stay up this season, Justin, at the end of the season?
Well, yeah, that has to be an expectation for both sides at the very least. I mean, no side will say they want to get relegated, will they? No side will want to be relegated. But when you're looking at it from an outside point of view, they're both coming up from League One. It's going to be hard, and that's the realistic variable you've got to throw in there. But I think you do also have to bring in the equation of how big and well supported both clubs are. And naturally, I think you'll get some ego with your expectation, thinking, well, we should be pushing higher. We should be pushing higher. That will certainly be the driver for both sets of fans. But I think realistically, staying up is the absolute minimum, maybe even maximum. Doesn't matter where you finish, as long as you're still in the Championship come the end of May, it doesn't matter. But as much as that is needs to be said, this season does have to be the launching pad for both sides for more success in the future.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said there, Justin. I think if you offered these two safety in the summer, just gone, then I think they would have taken it, wouldn't they? Because, look, I mean, they're not the biggest clubs in terms of resources. I mean, in terms of club size, they're obviously big clubs, but in terms of resources, they're still playing catch-up with a lot of Championship clubs. So this season, for me, I think for both was just stabilise yourself back in the Championship after the first season back and then just go from there. Portsmouth have obviously spent a lot of time out of the Championship in League One and League Two. Derby nearly went out of bloody business not too long ago. So they for them to be back in this position just 2 years later is pretty good going, and that shouldn't be forgotten, even though you're probably right, because these are two big clubs. Both sets of fans probably will be looking to set their sights higher. But look, the fact of the matter is this, Justin, a win for Portsmouth would see them get a bit of breathing space with regards to being away from the bottom three, which they haven't had all season. A win or a draw for Derby would see them climb 3 places up to 14th, albeit only for less than 24 hours on Friday night. But Paul Warne has found himself under a bit of pressure at Derby recently, as we were discussing on Sunday. He has somewhat eased that pressure slightly by getting a great point away at Burnley in midweek, which I'm sure ruined a few Ackers. It is just 1 win in 11, though, and he's got to be looking at this as a game Derby should be winning, right?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, he's spot on with that. I think the biggest tell that a manager is under pressure is some of the weird shit they say. And you got Neil Harris calling supporters thickos last week. You know, he was under a bit of pressure, and now he's left. Paul Warne saying, Derby's a Derby, we're called Derby last week. That was strange. But also suggesting that his players are a League One group of players with sugar on top is also a weird thing to say when you're trying to inspire them to do more. He is absolutely under pressure. And I do think this is a must-win game. I think when you consider the fact that Portsmouth are in and around them, down at the bottom of the table, they come up from League One with them, budgets are going to be similar. This has to be a game where Derby are they're looking at it and thinking, we need 3 points. We have to get 3 points. Coming away with anything else is not good enough. And, from a supporter's perspective, that has to be their mindset. From a player's perspective, that has to be the mindset. You can't go to Burnley and think, we're going to battle here. We're going to battle. It's going to be hard. If we come away with a draw, brilliant. And similarly with Leeds, although they didn't really do much against Leeds. But this has to be one way they're looking at it and go, win is you can't take anything else from it other than a win from this game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't think Derby supporters would be celebrating anything other than a win in this game. I think they'd be seeing it as points dropped if they didn't win this game because, look, Portsmouth, while they have picked up in form recently, and we will talk about that very shortly, they are a team of a similar stature to Derby in terms of where they've come from. They are newly promoted alongside Derby. This is a paramount must-win game when it comes to home games this season because this will be one of Derby's more winnable games when you look at their fixtures at Pride Park this season. So that's why they've got to be doing it. And as we say, the pressure has been building a bit on Paul Warne. Mm-hmm. As we say, that Burnley result in midweek was a bit of a surprise and may somewhat ease it. But ultimately, the fact of the matter is that Derby fans aren't completely convinced by Paul Warne, and therefore, if they don't get the desired result here, it wouldn't take much for Derby fans to maybe not turn on the team, but start to bring more questions than there were before about Paul Warne. We'll say that much for sure.
Yeah, that's spot on, and I think that's absolutely fair. I know I've been saying the same thing probably since the summer in that I don't believe that he's good enough for the Championship. The performances that I've seen from Derby, I think, correlate with that opinion. But this is why I think this game can be the making of Derby this season. If they go out and produce the numbers they did against Swansea and Sheffield Wednesday going forward, the chances they created, they could come away with something. But I think most importantly, they've got to look like they've got an idea in possession of what they're going to do to break down a team. They rely far too heavily on set pieces, and I think that really does mask a hell of a lot. But I did see some positivity to take away from the Swansea defeat and the Sheffield Wednesday defeat in that they created a hell of a lot more from open play. And if they do that against Portsmouth, then who knows what they can do. But it's not going to be an easy game because you're facing a Pompey side that are a banging form at the moment.
Yeah, they are banging form, Justin. They are a tricky opposition for Derby, aren't they? They've had that big upturn in form, which I did predict not long ago, Justin, may I add. And it's seen them lose just one of their last 6 and climb out of the bottom 3 for the first time since the start of September. And so if their recent form is anything to go by, they'll definitely be causing problems in the East Midlands tonight, won't they?
Yeah, I think it's the fact that they're unbeaten in their last 4, but they've scored 3 against Bristol City, they scored 3 against Preston, 2 against Swansea. They've started to find some personality and confidence after taking beating after beating. They've sort of turned into that little brother who's now found a little bit of bravery and they're standing up to their older sibling. It feels
you're
like that.
Speaking from personal experience there.
Absolutely. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. I've needed to do it, and I can relate to this Portsmouth upturning form. It's reminded me of my childhood very much in growing up, sadly.
What's the Colby Bishop coming back in terms of your... in terms of you turning against your older siblings?
Me being able to squat 120 kilos and put them down whenever I want. I'm now stronger than all of them. That's my goal.
I thought it was just going to be puberty, to be honest, but carry on.
No, I was stick thin for a long time. I can't remember what I was saying. They've really picked up in confidence and grown in confidence. And, like you alluded to it a little bit sharply, I have been very critical of Pompey this season. And, it's more so because they haven't been good enough. But look, the difference that Colby Bishop has made has been extremely impressive. But you cannot get away from the fact that Josh Murphy's hit form. Callum Lang has been impressive all the way through the season. Brad Potts is really starting to grow in central midfield. Marlon Pack dropping into the back 4 as well, I think has been a slight innovation from John Messina. I can't quite put my finger on when exactly that started, but the upturn in form, as I say, unbeaten in the last 4. Marlon Pack's been at the heart of the defence for those games as well. So there have been changes that Messina has made, and they seem to be working.
They do seem to be working. I always maintained that Portsmouth were playing better than their results suggested. I think Portsmouth fans shared that sentiment as well. And when you are a team doing that over a consistent period of time, results tend to eventually start going in your favour. And I think that's what we're seeing now with Portsmouth. Of course, the return of Colby Bishop has been a big factor in that. But it looks like they are now full of confidence and starting to go the right way up the table. But Justin, it's now time for our second tier bet builder with SBK. But before we get on to that, a reminder of SBK's Fresh Legs offer. Picture it! You've got a bet builder and you've had a player to score, but then he gets subbed off. Oh no, the heartbreak, the pain of it all, hands on head, all that sort of stuff. Not with SBK though, because in the Championship, if your player gets subbed off, then the bet rolls over to the player coming on. So you're still in the game, and SBK are the only bookmaker offering this on every Championship game this season, meaning there really is no better place to bet on the second tier. So why not sign up for SBK and join the thousands of people already taking advantage of fresh legs every weekend. And if you want any more, because SBK are so bloody good at what they do, they're also offering a 25% boost on bet builders for Derby v Portsmouth. Bet builders with 4 or more selections. So get involved. And every Friday we make our own bet builder with 4 selections, all relating to our game of the weekend. So that's 2 for Justin and 2 for me. Justin, kick us off. What is the first selection in the bet builder for Derby v Portsmouth?
I've gone with both teams to score. It seems like a no-brainer to pick 2 relegation-threatened outfits, or 2 teams who are going to be battling relegation this season to both score in a fixture. But looking at the numbers between them this season, there've only been 15 occasions out of the 40 games, I say between them, where both teams have failed to score, and I think them coming up against each other increases the likelihood of both sides finding the back of the net in this one. I think as well, in addition to this, you've got 2 sides here who are maybe still unsure of themselves defensively. When they get put under a bit of pressure, they might lack that assurance. I think in a game of high magnitude, I do feel like it is a must-win fixture for both sides for various reasons. I think Portsmouth will give as good as they get, and they've got a lot of confidence now going forwards. And I think mix that with Derby being at home, they're going to push for a goal as well, especially under the lights and in front of the Sky cameras. So, yeah, first selection is both teams to score here.
Yeah, that draw against Burnley in midweek was Derby's first clean sheet in 11, while Portsmouth have kept back-to-back clean sheets, but before that, they had only kept 2 in 17. So one to suspect that these are 2 defences which are still getting to grips with themselves. And that's why this looks like a good pick, Justin. I think my first selection is over 3.5 cards. Ryan's card pick of the week. Yes, it's back, ladies and gents. And this one was pretty straightforward for me because it turns out, Justin, both Derby and Portsmouth are very naughty. They're both in the top 5 for the most cards this season. Disgraceful, isn't it? They both need a slapped botty. But the referee for this is Ollie Langford, who I will admit isn't the best referee for cards. Having said that, he has still managed over 3.5 cards in 7 of the 11 Championship games he's officiated this season. So hopefully he's woken up on the wrong side of the bed ahead of this game, Justin.
Yeah, it's one of them where I think you've got foul merchants like Marlon Pack, you've got Freddie Potts breaking play up as well. Ebbo Adams in for Derby, he's just come back from a suspension. So there's a lot of variables at play here that do point to a fair few yellow cards. Christmas season as well. Let's not forget that. It's card season. Everyone gets cards for Christmas.
Good. I was wondering where you were going with that, but that's good. I like that. Justin, what's your next selection?
I've gone with Josh Murphy to score anytime. It is Josh Murphy, by the way. I've fact-checked myself. I went on Who Scored before and I put his first name in. It's Josh Murphy, not his twin brother Jacob. But he is the man of the moment for Portsmouth. I know Colby Bishop's come back and he's been a huge influence on Portsmouth's attack, been a great focal point. But Josh Murphy's got 8 goal contributions this season, which is a far greater number than I imagined him ever getting this season. I had zero faith in him at the start of the campaign, but credit to him. But more so on the fact that he's got 3 goals in the last 4 games and 2 assists. So the likelihood of him being heavily involved in any Portsmouth attack is going to be very, very high. So him score any time, I'm going with that one.
Yeah, he's one of the form players in the division right now, isn't he? He is full of confidence, and you can see that by the fact he's had 19 shots across his last 6 games. So you could say he's become the main man for Pompey, and this makes this a good pick in my eyes, Justin. And our final selection for our bet builder in Derby v Portsmouth is Portsmouth Double Chance, which, a reminder as always, is basically us saying Portsmouth not to lose. Yeah, I've got to say, seeing Derby odds on for this game, I really struggle to get behind that. Yes, they should be looking to get the win here, but do I have enough confidence in them at those odds? No chance. They have been far from convincing recently. Their performances have been on the slide. Their results have been on the slide. Is that draw against Burnley a sign that the slide is slowing? Maybe, but I would need more evidence on that. And on the other hand, I've been impressed with Portsmouth recently. I think they've been particularly great going forwards, with the aforementioned Josh Murphy in sublime form. Colby Bishop's obviously been a massive boost as well. Callum Lang, Matt Ritchie, both in great vein of form themselves. So I can see Pompey getting a result at Derby, Justin, tonight.
Based on recent form, absolutely. Derby have been dropping some really poor goals, really poor moments in games. And it's when you've got a Portsmouth team who have got this renewed vigour in recent weeks, and you've got two form players in Colby Bishop, Josh Murphy in attack, it really does make you a little bit nervous being a Derby fan heading into this one. And considering the fact that, as you say, Derby's performances have been on the slide, they have played two tough teams in Leeds and Burnley where, yes, they've looked organised, but they've still lacked a threat going forwards. Is that going to seep into this game? And if it does, it's hard to see them scoring, creating chances, and therefore increasing any likelihood of a Portsmouth result here at their best.
Damn right. So our bet builder for Derby v Portsmouth tonight is both teams to score, over 3.5 cards, Josh Murphy to score anytime, Portsmouth double chance. A £10 stake on that returns £210 thanks to SBK, boosting the odds by 25%. I think the Josh Murphy to score anytime shout has really boosted that up by quite a bit, because he seemed like pretty chunky odds. But having said that, considering his form recently, I think it looks cracking value. So remember, if you don't fancy our bet builder with SBK, you can create your own bet builder from a range of markets. T's and C's apply, over 18s only. And please gamble responsibly. Justin will take a quick break. After that, we'll make some more predictions ahead of the weekend. Welcome back to the Second Tier Podcast, and this is the preview show brought to you by SBK, which means it's now time for us to have a look ahead to the weekend. And in each preview episode of the Second Tier, Justin and I will each pick a banker, a team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider, so someone we think is going to win but is bigger odds with our friends at SBK than their opponent. We're tracking how we do as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a forfeit, which to be a mascot at an EFL game next season. The current scores look like this: 22-15 to Justin Peach. Justin got a full house last week. He has been in fine form recently. Me, on the other hand, I got my banker of Leeds to win correct, but my outsider was Oxford to win at Plymouth, which was postponed. As mentioned recently, we'll add those points to the score when that game is replayed, depending on the result, of course. But that means both you and I have a game in hand now, Justin, which is just confusing. I hate it.
Yeah, it's confusing, but it is what it is. I think Plymouth saw that, Storm Dara coming in over the weekend as a chance to really fuck you over, and it's playing into my hands a little bit.
The thing is, as well, you had Blackburn, and since then they've not stopped winning, have they? So exactly. You've potentially been cost some valuable points right there, which is a big shame on Justin Peach's behalf, but considering his lead at the moment, he don't bloody need them. Let's see if you can build upon that lead even further this weekend. Justin, what is your banker?
It's going to shock the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I've gone with Middlesbrough to win at home against Millwall on Saturday afternoon.
Oh, no.
Now, the reason...
Oh, no. Oh, no. There's been a simultaneous hand slap against foreheads across Teesside at hearing that.
Every single Borough listener has just unplugged their microphones, stopped listening, and I apologise.
Why are they unplugging the microphone? Why would they have a microphone for a podcast that they're not speaking on?
It's a great, sometimes you want to listen through a microphone, an external mic. Just plug it in. It might be for work. I don't know. People have Teams meetings that they plug an external mic in. Don't judge and assume, Ryan. Okay. Which is exactly what I did by assuming they all have mics in, which was just a fuck up from me. But carry on. Yeah, this is the biggest news, I think, of the weekend, actually. I'm backing Borough to win after they screwed me over multiple times and have done favour to you several times. Nothing personal, I hope. But look, this is a sticky fixture against Millwall. I won't lie about that. Mainly because Millwall, away from the Den, they're awkward bastards. They have not won many. They've just won one away from home, but they've only conceded 8 goals, which does make this a tricky fixture. But Borough are on a new path. This is a month, in December where they have to grapple league form. If they've got any hope of being in the hunt and the fight for automatic promotion, they have to really push on in December. And I think this is a nice fixture to come up against, where you've got a Millwall team who aren't creating a hell of a lot going forward. They're going to be difficult to break down, but given Borough's incredible ability to just put away opposition in front of them, or at least lay punches on opposition like they did against Leeds in midweek, I do fancy Borough. It's a tentative fancy because Borough have this habit of screwing me over. But why not? Finazaz, they're in form. They're just, why not? Why not?
Why not? I'll tell you why not, because I think I'm right in saying that in the preview show this season, I've got a 100% record when it comes to backing Middlesbrough. I think, have you got one right with Middlesbrough yet this season?
No,
I
haven't.
I think it must be 0%.
Yeah, I believe the first one I backed Borough was a away win at Derby, in which Derby won 1-0. Borough battered them, and Derby's goal came from a misplaced back pass from Isaiah Jones.
Yes, that sounds right. So that's why I think Middlesbrough fans will suddenly be a bit nervy about this game this weekend. But look, you won't catch me going against Middlesbrough right now. I think despite failing to win in their last two, they are one of the best teams in the division. And I would be backing them to get another win here. But of course, there is the small matter of Justin Peach and his jinx that he has over Middlesbrough games this season, which I'm sure if anybody had any doubt about this game before, they certainly have it now.
If only the bookmakers took into account my jinx, it would increase the odds and therefore increase your winnings when this lands.
SBK are dropping the odds on Millwall win as we speak. So there you go, ladies and gents. That's Justin's banker for the weekend. Let's see if we can end that curse. I hope not, because it'll be very funny. Let's go to my banker this weekend. I've gone with Sheffield United win at home to Plymouth on Saturday afternoon. Let's be frank, I like to think that I don't need to do much explaining on this one. It's Sheffield United v Plymouth at Bramall Lane, the team who have won 8 in a row at home against the team who have lost 8 from 10 away this season. That's all I'm going to say on the matter, Justin. This has to be one of the bankers of the season, really, doesn't it? So with that being said, I think a more pressing conversation, which will be of interest, Justin, is whether this could be Wayne Rooney's final game in charge of Plymouth. There were those reports that he had 2 games to save his job. This will be the second of those 2 games. Now, don't know how true those reports were. Mike Phelan coming in as Rooney's assistant on Sunday would imply not very true. But to satisfy the Plymouth hierarchy, what would Rooney have to do here, do you think, Justin, to give himself more time?
Just before I get onto that, what if the new assistant manager at Plymouth is feeling out the managerial position for when Rooney does get sacked?
Feeling out the position?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Okay, fine. Didn't get that at all.
Yeah, that's one of those things I don't have written down and I just ad-libbed it. But in terms of what we need to see from Plymouth, yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Wayne Rooney, but you almost go into an away game with the expectation that Plymouth are going to lose. I mean, it'd be interesting to see and get a spreadsheet analysis on how often you've backed a team to beat Plymouth away from home, or even me, actually, probably every week. Plymouth probably get a mention every week on our preview show. Really sad, but that's just a state of their away form. But what I want to see from Plymouth, because I think the inevitability is they are going to lose, but I want to see them express themselves somewhat. They're very shy away from home. They don't want to come out the whatever the shape they're going to be in because they're terrified of conceding. But I think you need to give fans something to believe in. That a set of away fans makes a huge amount of effort every single away trip. So many miles are covered by Plymouth fans. You've got to give them something they can take home. And it can't be just sitting down and allowing people to tickle your bellies. Give them something. Give them something. And if you lose 3, 4, 5-0, but you've had a go, that's better than losing 3-0 and doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Well, having a shot will be a good start for Plymouth, wouldn't it? Because I'm getting similar vibes to this one as the Leeds game, where Plymouth infamously didn't even have a sight at goal. Look, surely the Plymouth hierarchy aren't saying they have to go to Bramall Lane and get a result here, because that's just not going to happen. is it? If they put in a performance, then great. But I don't remember the last time I saw Plymouth put in a performance of a good enough standard. And if they get a battering here, I won't be surprised at all if that's the end of Wayne Rooney's reign, because they've been subpar for some time now. So we're looking for a performance, but whether that happens or not is an entirely different question. So there are mine and Justin's two bankers for the weekend, and every week we combine these two selections with a bet on the full-time results of our game of the weekend to create our very own second-tier featured multiple with SBK. So this week we're going for Middlesbrough and Sheffield United both to win, and Portsmouth double chance. So a £10 bet on our multiple returns £36.50. There are three selections, but if you add one of your own, then you'll be able to take full advantage of SBK's 20% ACCA boost. So four selections and you'll get a 20% boost on your winnings. Once again with SBK. That offer expires at 3 p.m. on Saturday. T's and C's apply. Over 18s only, and please gamble responsibly. Right, it's outsider time. Justin, hit me with your outsider for this weekend, please.
QPR to win away at Bristol City on Saturday lunchtime to slap you right in that face. QPR are unbeaten in the last 5 heading into this. They've won 3 of those games and have kept 4 clean sheets in a row. I saw this and my eyes lit up. They really did. It was like Christmas all over again, but for an outsider. When you look at their last few games as well, they stifled Norwich and beat them comfortably. Didn't create a hell of a lot themselves, but they didn't allow Norwich to do anything. They convincingly beat Oxford at midweek, and they've nullified Watford as well in this run of games. I think this is a team that is really getting to grips with how they need to play to get results, and they're doing it well. They are, as I say, completely eradicating what opposition provides, in terms of their attack. Boy Signs barely got into the game for Norwich, for example. That's how well QPR managed that game. And they're starting to create big moments from set pieces and crosses, and it's paying dividends. Bristol City did look okay in midweek, but that consistent inconsistency that we know blights them. I think QPR will be looking at this as a fixture that will be a very nice one for them to come up against. So, yeah, I'm going with QPR to win away at Bristol City.
Yeah, QPR have definitely seen a turnaround in form, and that's great to see, isn't it? They're coming off the back of back-to-back wins for the first time this season, and they've managed to do it with all their strikers getting injured. Rayan Coley started up front in midweek. Of course, he did score twice last weekend, but it was only his second start of his professional career in midweek. But the main reason he's been playing is because Michael Frey is injured, and now they've been dealt a blow because new signing Janchella is set for a spell on the sidelines as well, just as he was getting going. Justin, he's been pretty woeful all season, but just as soon as he finds a bit of form, that's it, he's on the sidelines for a period.
Yeah, life is fucking cruel, isn't it? It's bad. It's bad. I think, that does afford the likes of Rayan Coley to come in and have an impact. And you're right, he's not a natural striker, but he's played a huge role in the last 2 games. He's looked really good. He was a nuisance against Oxford. But I think, QPR being very proficient from set pieces now, once again, I think does afford them a little bit more leeway. It'd be nice to have that focal point. I mean, Janchella, the way he took his goals against Cardiff a couple of weeks ago was very impressive. It would be great to have that asset in your team, in your starting 11. Not going to be the case, but at least they've got someone who can run the flanks like Coley and provide a bit of a focal point in the box. So yes, it is bad, but let's not forget they pretty much played without Janchella for the entire season up until 3 weeks ago. So.
Yeah, they did, because he was pretty poor. So yeah, Coley seems to be doing a job while he's there, and fair play to him. Hopefully that continues. My outsider for the weekend is Norwich to win at home to Burnley on Sunday afternoon. I have just realised that not only am I going against Burnley here, but I'm also wearing a Blackburn shirt for this episode. I didn't intend to go full anti-Burnley for the show, but here we are, ladies and gents. But look, Burnley have been better recently. I'll give them full credit for that. They've been going forwards with a lot more purpose and have actually been carving out chances in games. But then the game in midweek against Derby felt a bit like the Burnley of old again. Really struggled to create anything of note until fairly late on. It wasn't great. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this game. Norwich are coming off the back of two not great performances by any means. In fact, pretty poor performances actually, but they were away from home. At Carrow Road, they've been a very different side. They scored 10 goals across their previous 2 home games. They've only lost once at Carrow Road in the last year. So it's a tough place to go. I will admit the form of certain players does give me a bit of concern, like Boya Sainz has been particularly quiet recently, but as I say, it's back at Carrow Road, so hopefully that will see him return to form as well. So it's a bit of a leap of faith, but I'm going with Norwich to beat Burnley, because I think Burnley could struggle at Carrow Road on Sunday. Justin, what do you think?
I think they will struggle, and I think the game will be poised for a long time. I don't think it'll be an open one. Burnley don't allow that to happen. And I think with Norwich's almost pragmatism in possession at times, they are very methodical in how they push forwards. Kenny McLean's absence as well, which I think will be a big blow for Norwich, will make things harder for them. He's very good at finding space in behind opposition with his passes, and that does release the likes of Boya Sainz, et al, others, if you like, and that not having that, it is going to be a significant blow. It's a good armory for them to possess, but I think with the game poised, and when you've got a player, a mercurial talent like Boya Sainz, who can score from any angle, any distance, it does shift things a little bit. I'm not convinced by it, or I'm not convinced by Norwich win. That being said, if it's a draw towards the end of a game or any point in the game, and Boya Sainz is lining up a shot, I would back Norwich to see that game through.
Well, Burnley have done a fantastic job this season of keeping teams at arm's length, haven't they? But Boya Sainz has shown on plenty of occasions this season. It doesn't matter if you keep him at arm's length; he can score from bloody anywhere. So that's a big thing going in Norwich's way this weekend. You mentioned Kenny McLean there, Justin, and how he's got a ban. It's a 4-game ban following an incident last weekend for Norwich. A pretty innocuous incident, I thought.
Yeah.
4 games seems very harsh for that. But Johannes Hoff-Thorpe revealed that Norwich were only told McLean was banned less than 5 hours before their game away at Portsmouth on Tuesday. Which seems mad, doesn't it?
Yeah, and imagine Kenny McLean was already on the coach at that point for the trip.
It's a long old way, isn't it?
You could have stayed at home and watched it on TV, put your slippers on. It's cold out at the moment, It's just nice not having to do that. But yeah, more so on a serious point, it's frustrating and a little bit farcical as well. Not only is the decision, I think, incorrect, because it was very innocuous, and if you're going to elbow someone, you don't check if they're okay after. That's what Kenny McLean did.
What a very cynical take.
Maybe.
You could say he just didn't mean it, but you could say he wasn't looking where he was, but that's definitely one way of looking at it. I'm just checking the distance between Norwich and Portsmouth now. I don't know how it works logistically, whether Norwich would have travelled down the night before, but it's 4 hours and 20 minutes from Norwich to Portsmouth. Considering, obviously, they need to get there early and warm up and stuff like that, they would have probably found out after already departing for Portsmouth. So, yeah, it does seem a bit farcical. And it seems even more crazy when you remember Militon Osmajic was allowed to play for 2 games at Preston in the time between him biting a player and being given an 8-game ban. Just seems insane, doesn't it? But I don't know how these things work, Justin. Maybe it got stuck in the mail, the letter saying he wasn't allowed to play anymore. I don't know. Or gremlins. It's that time of year, Justin. It's the gremlins in the email system at the FA.
Wow.
Right, with that being said, it's now time for this.
All right. Settle down, you lot. It's time for the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
Yes, it is, Mr. Barman, and this is how it works. Justin is going to give me 6 clues about a Championship player, past or present, each more revealing than the last. And I simply have to guess who it is. They must have made over 200 Championship appearances in their career. And don't forget, the Dexter Blackstock rule is in play. So what have you got for me, Justin Peach, you bastard?
This is a lovely one. I've made 449 appearances, scoring 0 goals.
Say that again one more time. 400?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Bloody hell, okay. Well, if it's 400 appearances, I can only assume that's a goalkeeper. And with that being said, I'm going to go with Paddy Kenny.
It is not Paddy Kenny. He seems too relevant for this
it's a
game.
shame. Massive shame.
It
Next
is
one,
a
please,
shame.
Justin.
I made my Championship debut in 2006 for Norwich after moving to England that summer.
So, if my thinking is correct, and it is a goalkeeper, it's a goalkeeper who's moved to Norwich in 2006, you say?
2006.
Okay. That's interesting. I have someone in mind. Is it David Marshall?
Fucking is. That was so obvious.
Ladies and gents, how about that? What a shout. That is from me. That is an unbelievable shout. 2 clues in. 2 clues in, ladies and gents. Wow. What a pro I am, Justin.
I made a Craig Bryson faux pas there by putting that year in.
I'm not maybe. I mean, it was a bit of a shot in the dark still, but I was just thinking, when you said move to England, I think that was the big thing for me, because that instantly ruled out a lot of English keepers, well, pretty much all English keepers. And then from that point on, I was just thinking non-English goalkeepers, and the only one who came to mind, who I know was at Norwich around that time, was David Marshall.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I thought that might throw you off a little bit. I maybe got my strategy wrong and maybe went too obvious with that clue, but interesting.
Good goalkeeper, though. Good goalkeeper, wasn't he? He wasn't very good at Derby, from what I remember.
Yeah, but my bias is throwing itself around there. He was terrible at Derby.
Yeah, not great at Derby, but at Cardiff in particular, he was fantastic, particularly in the Premier League. Wow, really, really good. But there we go, ladies and gents. David Marshall. In fact, Justin, do you want to quickly reel through the other clues for anyone who's interested? Yeah,
I'll get the other 2 clues out of the way, but the last 2 are funny. I made my professional debut in 2003 in the SPL and have been capped by Scotland 47 times. The next clue is I've played in the Premier League for Hull and Cardiff, as well as 4 other clubs in the Championship, which includes Derby, QPR, Cardiff, Norwich, Wigan. Yeah,
that's more than 4, but I get what you're saying.
Didn't mean to say Cardiff. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. The next 2 clues is my owner once complained that I didn't score enough goals despite being a goalkeeper.
Yes, good stuff. That is prime Craig Bryson pub quizzing cluing right there. I love that. What's the final one?
The next one is I was made into an international meme at Euro 2020 after being lobbed by Patrick Schick and being stuck in the net.
Completely forgot about that, but good stuff. I would have definitely got it on the. If I didn't get it by that point, I would have definitely got it before the with the Vincent Tan one, because that's just one of my favourite stories I think I've ever heard in the history of football. But there we go, ladies and gents. David Marshall, this week's Craig Bryson pub quiz. I don't think we've got one wrong yet this season, have we? We've got every single one right. We have been in top form when it comes to the old CBPQ. This has been the Second Tier Podcast, and this has been the preview show brought to you by SBK. We'll be back again, not on Sunday, ladies and gents. We'll be back again on Monday morning instead. So we'll try to get that out to you as soon as possible. But for one weekend only, we're going to be putting the show out, the weekend show out on Monday morning. So apologies for that, but we'll try to do it as early as possible, as I say. But anyway, this has been the Second Tier Preview Show brought to you by SBK. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.